More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richielago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. flies to the United States for the 30th APEC Summit. The Department of Justice is studying the entry of ICC prosecutors in the Philippines. UN officers conduct a day of mourning to honor their slain colleagues in the Gaza Strip. Nepal bans viral app TikTok in a bid to preserve their country's social harmony. And women run the world as female artists dominate the Grammy nominations. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is flying to the United States for this year's APEC Summit. Natalie Pichi has more.
Philippines is part of the 21-member bloc of Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation as President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is set to join other economic leaders for the annual summit in San Francisco, California. President Marcos is scheduled to leave Manila tonight and will return on November 20. In his departure statement, the President expects to forge closer economic ties and ensure bilateral relationships with other countries. He also anticipates with American business leaders to further promote trade and investment opportunities in the country. The 30th APEC Summit began this weekend, November 11, with APEC finance officials and ministers convened for preparatory talks. The President is set to attend the November 15 to November 17 Economic Leaders Meeting. According to the Department of Foreign Affairs, the President aims to push investments on sustainable energy in transition through collaboration with the business sector, environmental commitments, deeper cooperation on health and food security. Meanwhile, the President is expected to visit the Filipino communities in Los Angeles, California, and Honolulu, Hawaii after the APEC Summit. Natalie Pichi reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will not have a meeting with his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden on the sidelines of the 2023 Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. This confirmation came from Philippine Ambassador to Washington, Jose Manuel Romualdez, in a recent interview. However, Romualdez revealed that there is a request from the U.S. Office of Vice President Kamala Harris for a meeting with President Marcos during the summit. The Department of Foreign Affairs mentioned that President Marcos may engage in bilateral meetings with other leaders as well, but there is no confirmed schedule at this time. President Marcos will be attending the APEC Summit amidst heightened tensions in the West Philippine Sea.
The National Intelligence Coordinating Agency, or NICA, has supported the Senator's call to ban the operations of the Philippine Offshore Gaming Operations or Operators, or POGO, to combat the spread of transnational crimes in the country. Senator Sonny Angara reaffirmed the agency's stand on the total banning of POGOs in the country. He explained that this would spare the Philippines from being listed as among the center of activity of foreign syndicates. The senator said the closure of POGO and its related illegal activities will help to reduce human trafficking, kidnapping, and other crimes in the country. Meanwhile, the Department of Finance data shows that the country had economic losses worth 147.7 billion pesos per year due to illegal POGO operations. The agency disclosed that the amount takes into account direct economic costs from POGOs. This includes a dip in inbound tourism revenues due to crime and a decrease in foreign direct investments.
Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or BSP data, shows the growth in bank lending has slowed down for the sixth straight this month. From August this year, the total lending growth dipped from 7.2% to 6.5% in September. Data shows the September rate was the slowest in 21 months since the 4.8% posted in December 2021. Meanwhile, economists are concerned of the possible subdued economic growth in the fourth quarter. This is due to the lukewarm private spending as high borrowing rates dampen demand.
Meanwhile, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. expressed confidence in the establishment of the BARMM, highlighting its potential to enhance cooperation, coordination, and convergence of government efforts for further development in the region. Avin Pascua tells us more.
I extend my heartfelt greetings to the esteemed leaders convened here today at this inaugural BARMM Local Legislative General Assembly. Your presence here and the holding of this assembly signifies that the spirit of cooperation and unity runs strong amongst our BARMM leaders.
Speaking at the first BARMM Local Legislative General Assembly in Davao City, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. urged local officials to explore collaborations that would positively impact the lives of their constituents. He assured attendees that his administration would steadfastly support BARMM's development agenda. President Marcos Jr. also informed the audience about a significant development. The Philippines and Japan had signed and exchanged diplomatic notes regarding a non-project grant aid. This agreement involves a $6.8 million allocation for the acquisition of construction equipment dedicated to road network improvement and disaster quick response operations in BARMM. The project's primary objectives include aiding in relief operations, facilitating the restoration of essential access roads, bridges, and waterways, and providing assistance in the aftermath of natural disasters and calamities.
We venture together on this collective journey. I invite each and every Filipino to significantly take part in forging our path of progress, of inclusivity, and prosperity for the Bangsamoro region and the entire nation. We have already made our first steps. All we have to do is to continue what we have started to make sure that we never waver in our determination to succeed.
Vin Pascua reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Personnel from the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, and PNP began their joint training towards building peace and enhancing security in the Highland Cordillera Administrative Region. A total of 120 soldiers and policemen joined the 12-day training that kicked off on November 10. The training involves joint peace and development operations while ensuring the safety and well-being of the communities in the region. Philippine Army Colonel Virgilio Nura said the joint training served as the dedication of the two enforcement agencies to maintaining stability and security in the region as supported by the local government unit.
The Philippines has given its support to the United Nations General Assembly resolution condemning Israeli settlement in the occupied Palestinian territory. This includes East Jerusalem and the occupied Syrian Golan. Philippines has joined 144 other nations voting affirmative to the resolution approved last November 9 by the Special Political and Colonization Committee of the General Assembly. Meanwhile, 7 countries including Canada, Hungary, the Marshall Islands, the Federal States of Micronesia, Nauru, the United States, and Israel voted against the resolution, while 18 others abstained. The resolution scrutinized settlement activities done by Israel in the Palestinian territories of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. It also condemns acts of violence and terror against civilians from both sides.
The Department of Foreign Affairs is gearing up to launch the e-visa system for India, following the expansion of the system's beta testing across all 7 of its foreign service posts in China. The initial phase of the Philippine e-visa system was softly launched with Chinese tourists in Shanghai, China in August. A total of 1,739 Philippine e-visas were issued by all Philippine embassies and consulates in China. Indian ambassador to the Philippines, Shambu Kumaran, also recently requested President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to consider extending e-visas for Indian nationals staying in the Philippines. The Philippine government plans to expand the e-visa operations to India before the end of the year. As of October 2023, India ranks 12th among the top foreign visitors, with 58,504 recorded arrivals, according to the latest data from the Department of Tourism. Coming up, the DOJ is studying the entry of the ICC on Philippine soil. David Cameron returns to the cabinet after a 7-year hiatus. And UN agencies conduct a day of mourning for their fallen colleagues. Stay tuned, Mata ng Agila International will return for more global news.
Dahil sa kahirapan namin, nagsikap ako para makakuha ng mataas na grades. Nagawa ko ang lahat ng yun. Dahil sa mga karanasan ko sa buhay.
Iba-iba man ang pinagmulan.
Magsimula man tayong dalawa, pareho sa ibaba, ako lang ang aangat.
Sila ay nagsusumikap at nangangarap.
Hindi tayo pinalaki na basta lang susuko sa hamon ng buhay.
Nais makamtan ng karangalan at tagumpay.
Nagtapos naman ako ng kolehiyo. Nakahanap din ng trabaho. Pero hindi. Hindi talaga ako masaya sa ganun.
Ang bagong handog ng Net25. Isang kwento ng mga buhay na puno ng inspirasyon at pag-asa. House of Bluebird, November 27 na, 8:30 p.m. sa Net25.
Boss Leng, ako po si Exxon at sure ako na hindi po kayo matutuwa sa kwento ko.
Bigyan natin ng chance si Exxon.
Nagsiselfon ka lang pala. Labas mo na to, ha?
Ma, naglalaro ako.
Naglalaro ka? Eh, bakit nakabukas ang TV?
Bakit din yung suspect?
Sana nga.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. The Department of Justice, or DOJ, is studying the entry of the International Criminal Court, or ICC, prosecutors in the country. This was to initiate investigations in the Duterte administration's extrajudicial killing, or EJK, in the country. Senator Imee Marcos, however, underscored that the ICC has no power on the justice system in the Philippines, as well as the authority to investigate the EJK in our country. Meanwhile, in a statement, Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla said, and I quote, "Well, it just shows the independence of the judiciary, what I've always been saying in the very beginning. We are independent from each other, and that they are free to decide as they please, as they deemed fit. It just shows that there is a democracy, that democracy is alive and well in our country. I think that is the singular lesson that we learned from this." Remulla noted that the criminal court has its own independence, especially in prosecution. In his other statement, it reads, "I would call it prosecutorial independence. I don't interfere with the job of the prosecution, especially with this matter. We follow the principle of institutional continuity. The moment that we stepped in the office, this is already a running case. We respected and respect the findings of the previous prosecutors who were tasked to do their job. It is not for me to change their judgment or their point of view with regards to this. It is for them to be able to prove their cases in court because they already use mandate as prosecutors."
Senator Imee Marcos has asserted that the release of former Senator Laila de Lima from jail is indicative of the independence of the justice system in the Philippines. De Lima was granted bail by a Muntinlupa court on Monday, leading to her release. She had been in detention since 2017, accused of receiving payouts from drug lords during her tenure as the Justice Secretary to fund her 2016 senatorial campaign. 2 out of the 3 illegal drug cases against her were dismissed following the recantations of witnesses in those cases. Senator Marcos pointed to de Lima's release on bail as evidence that the justice system is functioning independently. Marcos also suggested that de Lima's provisional liberty supports her argument that the International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction in the country.
Indonesian President Joko Widodo urges U.S. President Joe Biden to do more to end atrocities in Gaza and help bring about a ceasefire. This during a visit to the White House Monday. Julian Bukayan has the details.
President Joe Biden welcomes his Indonesian counterpart, Joko Widodo, at the White House. The Israel-Hamas war overshadowed the Oval Office talks.
Indonesia also wishes our partnership contribute to regional and global peace and prosperity. So Indonesia appeal to the U.S. to do more to stop the atrocities in Gaza. Ceasefire is a must for the sake of humanity.
The Indonesian president says he would bring Biden a very strong message from a joint summit of Arab and Muslim leaders in Riyadh. The summit condemned Israel and called for a ceasefire. Widodo also says he would deliver a specific message from President Mahmoud Abbas of Palestine. Abbas, he says, asked him to convey it to Biden regarding the war. U.S. officials say Biden would in turn urge his Indonesian counterpart to take a larger role in resolving the Israel-Hamas conflict. A senior U.S. official says it is critical to hear the perspectives from Indonesia about the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. This would include the ceasefire issue and long-term goals. The official says that these goals include a 2-state solution after the war and rebuilding the shattered Gaza Strip. Indonesia last week denied an allegation by Israel that a hospital built in Gaza using Indonesian charity funding sits atop a network of Hamas tunnels. Julian Bukayan from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said that Seoul fears that Pyongyang might pose a Hamas-style attack if it waged war in the future. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol urged the United States Secretary Lloyd Austin to be vigilant against any kind of North Korean attacks. This is after Yoon invited Austin to his home for dinner. South Korean security experts said that Pyongyang's strategy has evolved since then. Pyongyang in the recent years has focused on increasing the firepower in its arsenal of nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, Hamas' attack on Israel remains nothing new to Pyongyang. Data shows that Hamas fired 5,000 rockets, while North Korea's artillery could fire an estimated 16,000 rounds an hour. Seoul is reportedly developing its own missile defense system, similar to Israel's Iron Dome.
Russian citizens are meant to vote sometime in mid-March of 2024. But Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov says President Vladimir Putin has not yet decided whether he will run for his 5th presidential term next year. Peskov adds that Putin's decision to bid for another presidential term draws more attention from political scientists and experts. A media report suggests that Putin could run as an independent candidate next year. The report also says no other candidate has so far announced a presidential bid. Putin has been elected president 4 times. He held the post between 2000 and 2008 and since 2012. Under the Russian constitution, Putin is eligible to run for 2 more terms in 2024 and 2030. The same law states that the presidential election should take place in mid-March. Analysts expect Russia's Federation Council to announce the exact date of the vote by December. But Ramzan Kadyrov, the head of Russia's Chechen Republic, proposed skipping next year's presidential elections due to the ongoing conflict between Moscow and Kyiv. Kadyrov asserts Putin is the only president able to defend Russia today.
Poland's pro-EU party scored a first win in the new parliament after general elections where their candidate was elected Speaker of the lower house.
Panie prezydencie, po tym głosowaniu nikt nie może już mieć wątpliwości, że jest w tym Sejmie większość gotowa do wzięcia odpowiedzialności za kraj.
Szymon Hołownia won the vote widely seen as a litmus test for three parties bidding to form a government and oust the conservative and populist Law and Justice, or PIS, party. He got 265 votes against 193 for the PIS candidate Elżbieta Witek in the 460-seat House. The Parliament Speaker's post is the number 2 position in the country as per the Constitution, with the Speaker replacing the President in case of death. The first Parliament session after the election comes as both the opposition and governing populists bid to take power. The PIS fell short of a ruling majority despite finishing first in the election, but was given the first shot at forming the government by Conservative President Andrzej Duda. Duda had earlier said he would ask current Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki to form a government. Morawiecki formally resigned on Monday, but is expected to be officially tapped as the prime ministerial candidate once again.
Gabon's military leaders have announced plans to conduct a general election in August 2025, responding to international pressure to outline a timetable for the return to civilian rule. General Oligui Nguema, who seized power in August, expressed the intention to rescue the country from a severe institutional crisis following the ousting of Ali Bongo. The Bongo family had governed Gabon for 55 years. While members of the interim government are barred from standing in the upcoming elections, the transitional charter does not explicitly prevent General Oligui Nguema from doing so. The junta in Gabon has emphasized that the proposed election timetable is not final and will be subject to public approval during town hall-style meetings scheduled for the following in April.
Zimbabwe opposition activist Tapumane Masaya, who was abducted over the weekend while campaigning for upcoming by-elections, has been found dead. His body was discovered in a decomposed state on the outskirts of the capital, Harare, as reported by his party, the Citizens Coalition for Change. The police have acknowledged the location of a body but have not yet confirmed the identity of the deceased. Further details are expected to be released later. According to Masaya's party, the activist was forcibly taken into a vehicle by armed individuals on Saturday while campaigning for a party candidate ahead of the December 9th polls. This incident is part of a disturbing pattern of abductions targeting opposition politicians and human rights activists in Zimbabwe, with responsibility often attributed to the ruling ZANU-PF party.
United Kingdom Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has suddenly reshuffled its cabinet members. From Europe, Jerry Sison reports.
UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak will meet his new cabinet after an overhaul on Monday that triggered anger on the Tory right. Sunak dismissed Suella Braverman as the Home Secretary and brought back David Cameron as the Foreign Secretary. He moved James Cleverly to the Home Office and let Jeremy Hunt stay as Chancellor. He appointed Victoria Atkins from the Liberal wing of the party as the new Health Secretary. Some policy experts say Sunak appointed Esther McVey as the Cabinet Office Minister to appease the right wing of his party. Sources said his latest reshuffle saw that Sunak has accepted a conclusion that the Tory right never wanted him as the UK Prime Minister in the first place. However, experts believe that Sunak will assert that his major overhaul in the government is all about replacing underperformers. Jerry Sison, London, United Kingdom, reporting po mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The civil war in Sudan is escalating with hundreds of people killed in a paramilitary raid in the West Darfur province. Doctors and the UN say more than 800 people died in the attack earlier this month, prompting one UN official to describe the killings as verging on pure evil. Anna Kui has more.
The fighting between Sudan's military and the paramilitary is in its 7th month now. Clementine Nkwata Salami, a UN humanitarian coordinator, says she is running out of words to describe the horror of what's happening in Sudan.
We continue to receive unrelenting and appalling reports of sexual and gender-based violence, enforced disappearance, arbitrary detentions, and grave violations of human and children's rights.
She says the escalating violence and attacks on civilians appears to be carried out on an ethnic basis. Since the fighting broke out last April, more than 10,000 people have been killed. Nikwata Salami says as the fighting continues, more than half of Sudan's population of 25 million requires assistance and protection. About 6 million people have been forced out of their homes. Anna Kui from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
UN officers lowered their flags to half-mast today in solidarity with the losses incurred by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, or the UNRWA. A minute of silence was also conducted to honor the 101 colleagues from the agency who have been killed in Israel's war on the Gaza Strip. The solemn ceremony was part of commemorations for the killed UNRWA colleagues by United Nations offices around the world. The UNRWA's death toll, already the highest in UN history, continues to increase. These colleagues were among the 13,000 UNRWA staff working in Gaza, and many of them were killed with their families, including teachers, school principals, health workers, engineers, support staff, and psychologists. UNRWA is hosting nearly 780,000 people in more than 150 facilities across the Gaza Strip. They came to these shelters to seek protection and safety under the very same UN flag.
Stop the violence, guarantee the safety of humanitarian workers, provide safe access to ensure that humanitarian assistance can be delivered to all those in need. Make sure that people have enough to eat, clean water to drink, medical care and shelter, free the hostages, serve accountability and bring to justice, in line with human rights law, the perpetrators of serious violations.
UN facilities, including those providing shelter, have not been spared during the war in Gaza. To date, more than 60 have been impacted, including 10 directly hit. At least 70% of the facilities hit were in the middle and southern areas down from Wadi Gaza.
The solution to this situation is the end of the occupation and full respect for the right to self-determination for Palestinians. As I have said time and again, for the violence to end, the occupation needs to end. Member states need to invest all the effort that is necessary to finding a sustainable peace for all Palestinians and Israelis.
In other news, small to medium businesses are thriving in Papua New Guinea as the country looks to reach the global market.
The small medium enterprise, or SME, in Papua New Guinea is on the rise. With the recently concluded World Indigenous Business Forum, global connections were established.
It's a tremendous opportunity for folks to share different kinds of experiences and look for ways to kind of partner on things. The indigenous world is worth a lot of money. We need to start to figure out ways where we can capture more of our economy.
Papua New Guinea products and tourism promise strong potential for growth and recognition.
We stand to attract more tourists into our country. When you want your country to grow, tourism is a big economic sector.
The government commits to make platforms available to SMEs, giving them the chance to evolve and thrive both in the local and global markets.
We needed the exposure, and we got that. We built business relationships. We were able to forge partnerships and then meet potential clients and customers. So it was a success for us.
Our coffee is from the highlands of Goilala. We're already overseas as well. IGP is also in Dubai. So our daughter is there. There's 3 of them. 2 are here who look after the Port Moresby branch and 1 looks after the Dubai branch.
From Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eko Hortaleza Quinola, Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Argentina's inflation rate has hit 143%. The news comes just days before a presidential election in which the economy will be a deciding factor. Mark Castillo has the report.
A shopping trip in Argentina is an adventure into the unknown. Prices are constantly rising. Consumers don't know from one day to the next how much things will cost, and that will likely affect how they will vote in Sunday's election. The race puts Economy Minister Sergio Massa against self-described anarcho-capitalist Javier Milei. The two men offer widely different options for South America's third-largest economy. Although Milei has a slight lead in the polls, the race is too close to call. Massa has overseen the slide into triple-digit inflation that has left many people struggling to survive. On the street, people say they live in a state of uncertainty because there is no stability in prices. Many people stockpile the basics as a hedge against further price increases. All agree that their wages can keep up with rising prices. Mark Castillo from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Up next, Iglesia Ni Cristo provides care packages for the homeless in various areas in Northwest California. Indian workers stranded in a collapsed tunnel spent another night underground. And Nepal bans TikTok to preserve social harmony. Matanang Agila International will be back after a short break.
The entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well in the country and open for business has witnessed yet again a few of our MSMEs to be feted for their dedication, passion, achievements, and sustainable practices. We speak to a few of these awardees to discover their inspiring stories as recipients of the first Southeast Asian Premier Business and Achiever Award. How do you stand out in the market?
First, quality of materials that we used. Second, after-sales relationships.
Laging isipin mo ano pa ang pwede kong ma-improve sa negosyo ko, sa services ko.
Kaya nga po tayo nagbibigay ng parangal sa mga negosyanteng Pilipino. We want to inspire people na gusto magtayo ng negosyo.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Iglesia Ni Cristo volunteers prepared care packages for the homeless in the series of Care for Humanity activities launched in various areas in Northwest California. Angela Reed reports.
The San Francisco Bay Area, known for its natural beauty, ethnic diversity, and tech industry, but amidst this progressive area, increasing rates of homelessness, as a direct attribution to the high cost of living in this northern part of California. San Francisco revealed to have the most unsheltered homeless people in the country. And on any given night around the Bay Area, over 38,000 individuals homeless, struggling just to get by day. I've been living here for about 27 years now, and I do commute a lot to San Francisco, and I pass by the Tenderloin a lot. So I do see them quite frequently, And they're always trying to take shelter, whether it's under bridges or on the street in tents. They're just trying to stay warm. And I know it's going to be especially hard for them these upcoming cold nights during fall and winter time. But recognizing the harsh struggles of individuals in these rural areas, Church of Christ volunteers around the area come together, preparing hundreds of care packages filled with non-perishable goods, blankets, and daily necessities.
Go back around, grab the bag, do it all over
So right now we're in the assembly line for Care for Humanity, packing non-perishable goods such as peanut butter, we have protein bars, we have cup noodles, macaroni and cheese. We have a blanket, especially during the cold weather. They're gonna need a blanket and a beanie. The following day, members united from across the district for a special program in Fremont, California, before setting off to distribute the care packages. And in attendance were also dignitaries and elected officials who came to show their support for this humanitarian work being done, not just in Northwest California, but globally.
And because of the rapid growth of newly added members to the church,
even in the darkest room, a candle shines bright because it's by itself, but it shines brighter when it's united. And so that's kind of what's happening here. It's a spark of God's love and of kindness that hopefully spreads to others. And when people feel also that type of love, and that helps us continue to grow.
After, members were off heading to different sites where these packages were distributed to many in need within the communities of San Jose,
people out there that's actually like people like you guys, they're out there willing to help people like us in these hard times and struggles. People like you and receiving gifts like this, like it brings like a smile, like to me personally, and it's a good thing. And that's why I know there's still hope.
Berkeley, no, thank you so much, and San Francisco.
In this year, we focus more on those who are homeless. Globally, when we speak of homelessness, we have 1.6 billion people. In California, would you believe, we have 126,082 homeless people. So given those numbers, the administration wants to extend help to those people who are really in dire need. So in our district, we concentrated in different places wherein there are a great number of homeless to them. So they are so appreciative and so thankful that the Iglesia Ni Cristo do have an activity like this one.
And I feel so appreciative of the opportunity to have the chance to join all of you. Your congregation has continued in these moments to show the love of Christ and God's love and warmth in this world right now where there's so much cold and fear. And I wanted to specifically recognize Brother Eduardo and also his philanthropic acts of kindness with Care for Humanity.
Seeing the result of this outreach has really inspired me more, and it makes me that much more proud of being a member of the Church of Christ. And this is not even just happening over here, but it's happening all over the world. And it just makes me that blessed that we're all united as one. This event today was just one of many being held around the world across different countries, and will only continue as long as there are people in need. The Church of Christ will continue to extend help and hope to fellow men in as many places as possible. From San Francisco, California, Angela Reed, leading up special coverage.
In Tel Aviv, a forum by families of hostages and missing persons puts into focus women held hostage by Hamas. Myla Simbulan has more.
The Hostages and Missing Persons Families Forum in Tel Aviv draws attention to women held hostages in Hamas, some of whom are sick and others targeted and attacked.
There are women with breast cancer who rely on their ongoing medications. Women with chronic illness, including complex cardiac conditions, kidney disease, hypertension, diabetes, mental conditions, and more. These medical conditions require specialized treatment and necessitate ongoing consultation with medical professionals. Denying these women essential medical care is a torture.
One woman says her sister, who was taken at the Nova concert during the October 7 attack by Hamas in Israel, suffers from a chronic illness.
My sister has asthma and chronic sinusitis. We can only imagine how she's struggling, gasping for air, wherever she's being held underground. Can you understand the feeling of fighting to breathe? Such a basic need.
Ruth Halperin Kadari of the UN Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women says victimizing women and children in Gaza is a crime against humanity.
I do not deny for a moment the suffering of innocent women and children in Gaza. I am concerned with the loss of life in Gaza, including the number of women and children who are victims of this armed conflict. However, at the same time, it cannot be denied that the abuse and sexual violence of women and the continued holding of hostages constitute crimes against humanity.
Shela Aviv Yedi of the Hostages and Missing Persons Families Forum says these crimes cannot and should not be tolerated.
While the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has always been a source of concern for women's rights, the recent taking of 90 women in captivity is a horrifying new law that the international community cannot accept. As part of the October 7th massacre, women have been subjected to rape, torture, and mutilation as means of warfare. The cruelty is beyond words, and the evidence is heartbreaking. Hamas actions targeting and attacking women constitute a war crime that cannot be tolerated.
Israel says 239 hostages are held in the Hamas-ruled Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, the Hamas-run Health Ministry says Israel has killed more than 11,000 people in the narrow Palestinian territory. Myla Simbulan for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The United States Census Bureau says around 3.5% or 600,000 people belonging to veteran population were born outside the U.S. to foreign parents. The migration policy reports that another 2 million are the children of immigrants to the country. Based on the U.S. survey, Mexicans and Filipinos are the biggest groups in the list of foreign-born ex-recruits. The Philippines ranks on the second spot with 65,200 veterans. The size of the latter group might be a surprise for some Americans. However, history shows the United States and the Philippines have had a long military alliance since World War I. The Philippines was also considered a Commonwealth of the United States during the Second World War. Some reports believe the real number of Philippines-born veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces can be expected to be even higher than indicated in the U.S.-based survey. When World War II broke, the United States did not grant citizenship to most recruited Filipinos. This situation, as historians say, blocked the Filipinos' path to immigration, resulting in them not being counted by the U.S. Census. Another reason was since the Philippines was a U.S. Commonwealth at that time, many Filipinos were already living in America in the 1930s and the 1940s. Many of these enlisted as well and were granted U.S. citizenship. At present, many Filipino veterans have become U.S. fighters since immigration from the Philippines remains at a high level after its independence.
Mount Etna began erupting again on the island of Sicily, sending ash miles into the sky and raining down on Catania. According to Italy's National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, the eruption began on Sunday, where the eruptive column is estimated to be more than 14,700 feet above sea level. Since early October, the volcano has been showing signs of eruptive activity in the southeast crater. In August, another eruption from Etna closed the Catania airport because of ash spewing from the volcano. Located in the coastal city of Catania, Etna is the largest of Italy's 3 active volcanoes and the largest active volcano in Europe. Rescue workers in northern India battled for a second straight day in an effort to save 40 workers trapped after a highway tunnel under construction collapsed. The workers are trapped under tons of debris. Rosel Feria has more.
India's officials say all indications are that the workers are alive and safe. The challenge is to clear a passage for them to escape without bringing down more rubble. Crews have been working non-stop since the collapse early Sunday morning. Oxygen is being pumped into the blocked portion of the tunnel. Food is being sent in through a pipe. So far, workers have managed to remove about 20 meters of heavy debris, but the men are 40 meters beyond that point. The plan is to use a heavy machine to drive a 90-centimeter wide pipe through the debris. That should be wide enough to allow the workers to crawl out to freedom. Rescuers are staying in contact with the men by radio. Rosel Feria for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Former United States President Donald Trump's older sister and retired judge Maryanne Trump Barry has passed away at the age of 86. Her death was confirmed by a judge official. New York Police Department said Barry was found dead in her home in New York. The Trump family has yet to release any statement about the matter nor the cause of her death. Barry is known for her position in the federal bench in New Jersey. She served for 39 years as judge from 1983 and retired in the year 2019. Nepal has banned Chinese company ByteDance's TikTok, saying its existence caused a disruption to social harmony. The decision comes days after the country introduced a new rule requiring social media firms to set up liaison offices in the country. Nepal's Minister for Communications and Information Technology, Rekha Sharma, said that the platform was open for malicious content, with more than 600 TikTok-related cybercrime cases registered over the last 4 years in the country. TikTok, which has around 1 billion monthly users worldwide, has been banned by several countries, including India. Earlier this year, Montana became the first U.S. state to ban it, while the UK Parliament banned it from its network altogether. TikTok has come under scrutiny from authorities around the world over concerns that data could be passed to the Chinese government. ByteDance has since denied all allegations. While YouTube and Facebook are popular among internet users of all age groups, TikTok is highly popular with younger age groups, with more than 80% of social media users aged between 16 and 24 using the platform.
Tech giant Amazon is shutting down its 2 gaming channels. And for the second time this year, the tech giant is trimming down its gaming-related workforce. The company is shutting down 2 gaming initiatives, Crown Channel, which streams on Twitch, and its Game Growth, according to an internal memo from Vice President of Amazon Games, Christoph Hartmann. Amazon will now be focusing on Prime Gaming's free games, which an Amazon subscriber can access. According to Hartmann's written statement, the company listened to its customers and that it knows that delivering free games every month is what they want most. In April, Amazon announced trimming down more than 100 staff members from its games organization, which affected staffers in Prime Gaming, Game Growth, and at the company's San Diego studio. Currently, the tech giant is laying off just over 180 jobs from its games division due to the major shift in gaming, having already cut thousands of jobs throughout the year. Coming right up, King Charles III celebrates his birthday in a celebration fit for a king. Novak Djokovic is back on top of men's tennis. And women run the world as female artists bag the most nominations. Catch more news in sports and entertainment when we return.
agad. So lahat ng lulutuin namin, puro eggs tayo. So lulutuin namin Korean pancakes, kajon, vegetarian fritters, mushroom and shrimp fried eggs, at crispy seafood noodles. So abangan niyo dahil pampalakas ng muscles, pampadami. Every Saturday, 11 a.m. So see you guys!
Ako po ang inyong katuwang tungkol sa usaping ito.
Nasa puso dapat ng Pilipino to love what is Filipino.
Kaya dapat ihayag ng saloobin.
Kahit gaano kasi karami yung doktor natin, kung may bayad din, baliwala din.
Paano makakabili ang Pilipino ng bigas?
Himayin ang hinaing.
Gaano karaming pera bang kailangan mo para maging masaya ka?
Alamin ang pwedeng gawin.
So I think the lesson is, pag may fake news, i-correct ka agad ng people concerned.
Sagutin mo agad. Mag-reality check tayo.
Check yun.
Check.
Na
Check na check.
Double check.
Check the check tayo dyan.
King Charles III celebrates his birthday as United Kingdom's ruler. From London, United Kingdom, here's Love and Season for the report.
Britain's King Charles celebrates his 75th birthday on Tuesday. Royal experts say the king will spend his birthday by launching his new food project. King Charles aims to tackle food poverty and cut down on food waste with his Coronation Food Project. He will also visit a surplus food distribution center with his wife, Queen Camilla. The king will also meet major British supermarkets to see how the Coronation Food Project can help redistribute food that would otherwise go to waste. Meanwhile, royal sources say King Charles will soon hold talks with Arab leaders this month to discuss a roadmap for peace in Gaza. Experts say King Charles is well respected in the Gulf states and Middle East. He has studied their history and has even learned Arabic. Experts believe the king's presence with Arab royals might boost diplomatic initiatives to resolve the war in the Middle East. Love and Season from London, United Kingdom for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A pilot who took off from San Francisco International Airport earlier this fall captured a breathtaking in-flight video over Toronto, Canada, showcasing the northern lights from a unique perspective. Captain Jao Mendez, who frequently records time-lapse videos of flights for his social media account, documented the stunning display while on a flight to Lisbon, Portugal on the 16th of September. The aurora borealis is typically visible in the most northern regions, but on this occasion, it made a rare appearance as far south as Mammoth Lakes, California, where a photographer managed to capture the phenomenon from his home. The photos offer a mesmerizing view of the northern lights.
In tennis, Alexander Zverev spoiled Carlos Alcaraz's ATP Finals debut. This after Zverev defeated the Wimbledon champion Alcaraz in 3 sets, 6-7, 6-3, and 6-4. Both players were coming off injuries ahead of their clash in Turkey, but Zverev looked more consistent as he prevailed. For Alcaraz, it was the first time he has lost 3 matches in a row since March 2021, when he was ranked outside the world's top 100. Meanwhile, Novak Djokovic will finish the year as the world #1 for a record-extending 8th time. This after he defeated Holger Rune in 3 sets, 7-6, 6-7, and 6-3. Djokovic needed just 1 win or defeat for young rival Carlos Alcaraz in order to secure the top spot in the ATP rankings for 2023 and prevailed in a 3-hour clash with spirited debutant Rune. After the tournament, Djokovic will become the first player to hold #1 for 400 weeks, with Roger Federer at 310, the only other man to eclipse the 300-week mark.
The Marvels opened with an estimated $47 million at the domestic box office. The sequel also made $63.3 million for a global start. Independent franchise researchers say the figures have set a new low for Marvel Studios. The previous low for Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe was Ant-Man, which bowed with $57.2 million in 2015. Outside Disney's MCU, the films The Incredible Hulk, Morbius, and Fantastic Four reboot were on the Marvel meltdown list. But some movie experts still believe the Marvels could still turn things around. It is an exceptional movie in many ways. The film is directed by Nia DaCosta, the first MCU movie directed by a black woman. It is also a rare Marvel movie since it is led by three women: Brie Larson, Teyonah Parris, and Iman Vellani.
Some of today's top female artists dominated the Grammy nominations list, making the biggest music awards scream girl power. Catherine Ortula has the scoop.
The nominations list for the 2024 Grammys, which recognizes musicians all over the globe, was announced Friday, with female musicians dominating almost all categories. Only one male artist, Jon Baptiste, will compete for the night's biggest prize, Album of the Year, and he is up against Midnights by Taylor Swift. SZA is leading the game with 9 nominations, whose rivals for Record of the Year are some of the biggest female musicians of today, including Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo, indie group Boy Genius, Miley Cyrus, Victoria Monet, and Billie Eilish. Out of 24 nominations, only 3 went to a recording from a male artist, all being for Baptiste. SZA's 9 nominations were followed by 7 nominations apiece for Monet, Phoebe Bridgers, and mixing engineer Sherban Guinea. Barbie took 12 nominations for the music of the film, 11 for the soundtrack album or its songs, and an additional 1 for the Mark Ronson and Andrew Wyatt instrumental score. The Grammys will take place on Sunday, February 4, 2024 at Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. Catherine Ortula for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Yay, girl power!
Girl power!
And to send you off today, reminding you that all is well, here's Indian actor Amir Khan. The journey that I have undertaken, meeting people from all walks of life and learning from them, has been my biggest achievement.
That's one of the coolest things in life, is that everybody has their own unique journey, and when we meet people and know about their journeys, we can learn so much from them.
I'm really glad that in all the years that I've lived, I'm so glad to have met many different people in many different places, because it really broadened my perspective of humanity.
That is true, of just acceptance, inclusivity, and maybe that's something that can inspire us to listen to other people's journeys. And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point. Thank you for choosing Mata ng Agila International as your trusted news source, keeping you connected to the world and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to AtNet25 TV.